All right, Jessie.
Hi.
Jessie, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Originally from Maryland.
Maryland.
Yep.
And tell me about your childhood. You had both your parents when you were young?
What about my parents?
Tell me about your family. You had both your parents when you
I
were
had a
young?
very relatively normal upbringing in the suburbs of Maryland. My father was a contractor, and I worked for him. I have two older brothers, and then a younger sister came along 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
4 kids. Grandparents in the city, grandparents in the country, and we lived in the suburbs.
How would you describe your childhood?
What?
How would you describe your childhood?
It was pretty idyllic, you know. We were very lucky. My father worked very hard. My mother was a good housewife.
You went through high school?
I went to high school. I graduated Delaney High School in Maryland.
Did you go further? College?
I went to college. I waited a couple years, and then I went as an older returning student. I went to Towson State University. It took me 7 years to get my bachelor's degree.
Right.
I got academically dismissed once, and I got kicked off the campus one time for a situation with a woman.
And tell me where your life has taken you after that. You've done what kind of work?
I unfortunately, at that point, Towson State University is not too far from Baltimore, Maryland, which is a heart and soul of the crack and heroin epidemic.
Yeah.
And I met a beautiful young girl that I was in love with, and we decided to get a place, and we found a nice little row house in Baltimore. I found a nice little row house in Baltimore for us to live in, and we had been together for 7 years. 7 years, and I was finally ready to move in with her, and I graduated college, and she left me for this guy named Steve, who was an actor, and I fell apart. I just lost it, and I'm down there in Baltimore, and I didn't know any better. And I saw the signs that said, I saw the billboards that were saying how bad crack cocaine is. And I said, oh, that. And I'm college educated now, so I learned that the media had overblown the effects of marijuana, had overblown the LSD was blown out of proportion. I figured, oh, well, this is just the same thing. So one day I picked up this young lady and brought her to my apartment. This pretty, very attractive black girl. And she said, I want to get some crack cocaine. I said, all right. And she went and got it and came back. And that was the beginning of the end.
Crack's a whole other thing.
And I've been struggling with that stupid thing ever since. However, I'm doing really well.
Today?
I'm on the other side of it, yes. I've managed it. I've engaged in harm reduction. I've engaged in, and I actually am writing a book about the whole thing.
What techniques have you found effective in getting away from crack?
There's a 100 different things that are important with managing what I refer to as unproductive, unhealthy, repetitive behaviors, herbs. We all engage in them. And one trick is to engage in harm reduction. You're familiar with the harm reduction?
No, I guess I'm not.
Harm reduction is, for example, if you're shooting heroin, instead of shooting it, snorting it. Or
Okay.
if you're smoking crack cocaine, instead of smoking it, snort it.
Mm-hmm.
That's harm reduction.
Sure.
Or harm reduction is only do it on the weekends. Or harm reduction is keep it to a certain amount. If you're an alcoholic, if you're able to drink a couple beers, you can do it. Some people can't.
Yeah.
Some people have to completely be abstinent.
Yeah.
So I've taken a little bit from, I've been around. I've done a lot of things in my life. I did stand-up comedy for 17 years professionally. You know, I have a degree in sociology. I've been in bands. I've traveled around the country. I've traveled across the country 24 times. And through comedy, I discovered the rainbow gatherings, the hippie thing. Rainbow gatherings, they gather in the national forest every year.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pot.
Yep.
No bad drugs. No alcohol. And I learned a lot from the rainbow gatherings. Every year they gather in the middle of the national forest, July 1st.
You told me that you're nomadic.
20,000 people. Yes, I'm nomadic. I travel.
So you don't have a home really.
I don't.
So you'll stay with friends or in your car? Or?
I have friends all over the country, and I stay at people's houses. Occasionally, I'll get a place. I had a wife for 2 years, and we lived in a place for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Do you have kids?
What?
Do you have children?
No, no children.
No children. So what brings you to the Tenderloin here in San Francisco today?
You're gonna love this. So I did stand up for 17 years, and the idea to come out west was to do a persona, outlaw comic Jessie X. I came out west with the intention to be a part of Burning Man, specifically, and the New Age culture in general. And I started going to the festivals. I did a few shows as the outlaw Jessie X. You know, I did stand up professionally, so I was pretty good at it. But I started distributing psychedelics at the festivals because there's no police and there's no, psychedelics are perfectly safe, in my opinion. And in fact, I think it's pretty obvious lately in the news. You can tell that everybody's realizing that people are using psychedelics to stay away from hard drugs. Mushrooms, Molly, ketamine, LSD, etc. Mm-hmm. And I became so good at distributing psychedelics, I became so successful at it that I kind of gave up the comedy idea and just started working the festivals nomadically, March through October. So every year, March through October, I'm nomadic, and then I make enough money. Me and the other vendors, the goal is to make enough money to last through the winter. Some of them go to other countries. Some of them stay here. And unfortunately, during COVID, the festival shut down. And so for 15 months, I've been living in my car in the Bay Area, trying desperately not to do Peruvian love rock. That's what I refer to it as.
Crack cocaine.
I don't use the C-R-A-C-K word anymore. Got it. That's going to be in the book. Words are important. Yes, they are. So you're going to love this.
Yes.
This is Paulie Gray, who is a person who works at Needle Exchange, and I have decided we want to do a class to teach people how to effectively smoke Peruvian love rock in order to quit. In other words, it is our opinion that one reason why people are addicted to, or they smoke it over and over again, is because they don't know how to do it, they don't know why to do it, they don't know the physics of smoking cocaine. So if you teach somebody how to do it, you teach somebody to take control of it, teach somebody to take control of the drug, and then they've learned that they can control it, then they can more easily stop. That's one way. One way is AA, abstinence. Another way is harm reduction. Another way is take control of your life. That's my point. That's the point of the book. That's the point of the class.
Right, but you're still down here today.
Yes, because I'm here today. Honestly, I'm being honest.
You told me you're very honest. So.
I'm being very honest. I occasionally still like to smoke Peruvian love rock. Occasionally. Mm-hmm. Normally, I just try to use ketamine. I've discovered ketamine. I originally just distributed mushrooms at the festivals because they're pure and everybody can see them and they're easy to sell and nobody's worried. Mm-hmm. And then I added Molly because I heard all the kids talking about Molly and I Googled it and I researched it and I felt like it was okay. And then about 3 years ago I discovered ketamine. ketamine is a fascinating substance, and it has absolutely been the major tool helping me stay away from crack cocaine, staying away from smoking Peruvian love rock to excess.
How bad did your crack addiction get?
How bad did it get?
Yeah.
I got arrested 24 times in San Francisco. I got arrested in Baltimore at least 12 times. And the last time I spent 9 months. It was horrible, horrible. Completely traumatizing. 9 months. And it was 95% African American. I learned a lot about the African American community in Baltimore. I learned a lot about what goes on, you know, the inner workings. You know, like, what's the name of the show in Baltimore? The Corner?
I mean,
The HBO, the very popular HBO series.
I'm sorry, I don't know it.
It's extremely popular HBO series on
I don't watch a lot of
crack
TV.
addiction in Baltimore.
I don't watch a lot of TV.
I was an extra in some of the shows, and they show the inside scoop from the political side, from the money side, from the dealers and the politics and all that went on. Well, I saw it from the trenches, in the streets. I saw horrible things in Baltimore. I had recently, the last time I was held against my will was Marin County Jail, 11 months. And while I was there, I decided to write down all the physical trauma I've ever had. I thought it would be a couple dozen. 33 physical traumas prior to doing any bad drugs, like falling off the car and hit my head, falling off the bunk, cracking my head open on the thing. 33 different physical traumas when I was a kid, just regular kid stuff. 33 physical traumas in Baltimore, getting hit in the head with a gun, or having black drug dealers beat me up, put me in the hospital. And then 33 physical traumas in San Francisco, 99 altogether. And then it's been 5 years since I was out of jail. I'm never going to be in jail again. And I've had 17 since then. So 116 different instances of physical trauma. People like to beat me up because I have a big mouth.
Is that what gets you in trouble?
Yeah, I speak my mind. And also, I'm pretty small. I'm easy to beat up.
Did your prison time help you limit or reduce your crack use? I assume you were clean.
It's complicated. It's absolutely, no one should ever be held against their will for doing drugs. I never, ever, with one glaring exception, I never did anything against anybody's will. I never engaged in any crime that was all the crimes were consensual or victimless. All drugs. There should be another option, but it is good to sit. It's good to sit for 30 days or 60 days, but that's the most you should have to sit for.
Yeah.
If you're doing drugs, 30 to 60 days, 90 tops. No one should ever be held against their will for buying or selling drugs. It's ridiculous. It's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible experience. It's completely traumatizing. It dehumanizes you, it strips you down. It affects you deeply, deeply for the rest of your life. I'm just now getting over the last time I was held against my will. Now, I say about a year ago. I got over the trauma of being held for 11 months. They were trying to put me in prison.
Why do you think drugs are so popular in our culture today?
Because America has no soul. We're all about money.
So many
power.
families are broken. So many People
We
seem,
don't have any community. We don't have, we're not like other countries where there's no ethnic cohesion. There's no collective consciousness. It's a wild country. It's a great country if you're if you're doing well financially. It's not such a good country if you're working class and you don't understand. There's no community. We need communities.
yeah. It just seems to me, if you stand back and look at it, there's a lot of greed going on in the United States.
Absolutely.
A lot of it, right?
A lot of greed.
And that, if you boil it down, kind of leads to a lot of parts of our society that are just broken and they have no options.
Absolutely.
They have no way, no hope of ever surviving unless they go to, criminal behavior.
Absolutely. And that's one reason why I'm helping out at this. The exciting thing is that there's a lot of wonderful things that are happening. There's a new breed of politician, and there's a new energy to help the homeless. I think one huge aspect of the homeless challenge is that nobody recognizes how much there's a direct connection between the drug war and homelessness. The overwhelming majority of the people that are homeless are black, and the overwhelming majority of those black people are men, and their men have been held against their will. One reason why they don't want to be housed is because they get anxious when they're inside, because you get traumatized when the doors close.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be inside. It's traumatizing to be in an apartment building.
So to me,
It causes anxiety.
yeah, I buy that. To me, mental health is the issue behind the drugs, and
Absolutely.
mental health is the issue,
Absolutely.
and that might be caused by things like we just talked about.
It's very complicated. It's very complicated.
But homelessness is not the problem. Drugs are not the problem. I would say mental health is probably what we should look at.
It's complicated, and
Yeah, it's super complicated.
We need to have a holistic approach.
Because sometimes the drugs cause the mental
We need to
health, and
have a
sometimes the
holistic
mental health.
approach. Yeah, and that's what's exciting about this community space that I'm helping with. There's a homeless encampment in Oakland. They call it the Wood Street encampment. It's at West Grand and Wood Street. And it's the most wild, renegade, desolate, fucking crazy homeless encampment I've ever seen. And these women activists, these neighborhood women activists. One has one is called So Chill, another one is Anne Marie. I can't remember the name of their organizations, but they asked Miguel, who owns an entity called Cob on Wood. He builds straw and mud structures internationally and nationally. He builds them all over the world, mostly in this country though. He builds them where people need structures where there's not necessarily direct access to water and electricity. And so they asked him to come out and build these structures in the middle of the homeless encampment. So directly in the middle of all these burned out cars and abandoned vehicles and RVs that look like hell and dirt roads and the highways overcoming, there's this beautiful community space that's been created in the last 5 months. There's a kitchen, a working kitchen with hot water and a refrigerator and a shower, a hot shower. I don't know how he did it. He ran the wires underneath the ground from Caltrans or something, and there's a free store with every clothing, and then there's a medical container, and there's a stage, and every Sunday 4 to 8 it's pizza and beer, and they have open mic, and people come and sing, and there's a big crowd. And it's been very exciting, and it's
And this is the homeless community.
It's what?
And this is the homeless community.
It's in the middle of the homeless encampment.
Yeah.
And July 1st, Caltrans has put up notice that they're going to evict them.
Oh, really?
So there's a big fight coming up.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And I'm going to film a video there, a music video of the song I wrote while I was held against my will, called Everyone's an Outlaw. That's the end of June. But that's not important. The important thing is that these people who are at the homeless encampments, they need community, and they need to feel safe, and they need showers and food to help them get out of there.
Yeah, I think a little dignity and
Exactly.
respect
Exactly.
go a long way in terms of helping
Exactly.
people ever climb out of this lifestyle.
And it's gotten a lot of press, and it's very exciting, and it looks like it's going to be something that is going to be a game changer for the homeless.
Yeah. Yeah, San Francisco seems very advanced in terms of how it treats the homeless.
San Francisco, whew, God,
You look at the
what
way
a challenge.
you look at the way the homeless are treated in other cities, and it's
Well, I look at this problem here, and it is. I'm pretty sure I have a lot of the answers, but San Francisco is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I walk down the streets and I cry because it's going to be very, very difficult to end this thing. But it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. They're putting money into it, and there's energy, and people are coming out. And what's very important is for the people to come out. In Berkeley, where I live, and where I park my car in my tent, people come up and bring us food now. There's places where you can go to eat, but the energy has changed, and something maybe because of COVID, maybe because people have free time. People have come out of their houses and given clothing. They come to my place and give me food. They come to my tent and bring me food. And I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting there and I was having a relapse and I couldn't make it to eat. And somebody shows up with a fucking home-cooked meal. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's so inspiring. And so that's what people need to do. People need to talk to the homeless. I know you can't talk to people when they're all fucked up. You can't talk to people when they're high at the time, but you can talk to them when they're not high. And you can try to help them. And you can have compassion for them.
absolutely.
And you can just give them things they need. Don't give them money. Don't ever give homeless people money.
I'm learning that.
Yeah, don't give homeless people cash.
But being
Generally speaking, there are
But-
exceptions.
yeah, exactly.
But if someone needs food, give them food. If someone needs clothing, give them clothing. If someone needs a tent, if someone needs a hug, if someone needs to talk, importantly.
Sometimes they just need some respect and dignity.
And some respect, absolutely. And to not be treated like a pariah
Yeah.
for being addicted. When you're addicted, God, my addiction is relatively benign. But I've gotten to know, I've been around people, and when you're addicted to methamphetamine or heroin or fentanyl, it is very, very, very hard to stop. It's very, very challenging.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll move the society forward a little bit.
What's that?
Maybe society will move forward a little bit and
Yeah.
become a little more understanding
Yeah.
and kinder.
I think there's a lot of hope. I really do. I think there's a lot of hope. And this project that I'm helping with is inspiring.
Excellent. All right. Well, Jessie, thank you so much for talking with me.
I appreciate you asking. This has been good for me, actually.
Excellent. You're very interesting.
Yeah, I'm an interesting guy.
Thank you very much.